Hi, and welcome to Focal Point. My name is Carla Green. I am the Director of the Regional Prevention Center at Kansas City, Kansas Community College. And with me today, I have Patty Jurich, who's going to talk to us about her involvement with Parent-Teacher Association, what led her to that, and then she's going to give us some information about a group, the Youth Advisory Council, that she's been working with, and we're going to talk about some of the opportunities that have been available to those students here in Wyandotte County. So, welcome, Patty.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you for coming. Let me start with PTA. You've been involved with PTA for quite a while. Tell me how long you've been with that organization and what prompted you to join that group.
I started PTA as most other parents do, as a room parent, and that was when my son was in kindergarten, and that was 25 years ago. And just continued to do stuff at the school, and then you get involved more deeper into the organization. You'll take on a chairmanship or an officer position, and then pretty soon you find yourself doing president, and then you just keep on. I mean, it's a great organization. I wanted to be able to be involved with my children's education at their school, and to help make them to realize that school is an important thing, that they should do well, and that it was important enough for me to be involved. So hopefully they would get the message and say, I should do well. And it's worked out pretty good.
What are some of the benefits that you see as a parent? What are some of the benefits of being involved with PTA?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Other than you're in the school, you know what's going on. You get to know the teachers well, the staff in the school. You have access to a lot more of what is happening in the school. Sometimes you get asked to serve on committees like site councils, things like that. Those are affiliated with the school, I would say that is, but also there's room for opportunities for personal growth. It makes you get out of your comfort zone, out of your box. So especially for those stay-at-home moms, that would be a good area to experience personal growth, some self-achievement. Because within my family, one of us was going to stay home with the kids. And, who wants to climb the walls? You have to get out and do something. And right. So that was a good opportunity. That was a good fit for me, it was. Okay. And you just learn a lot. There's all kinds of support systems. There's conferences, leadership training. You learn to do a lot of stuff that you would have never done, like doing newsletters. You learn to develop programs, implement them, evaluate them, work with other people. I would never be doing this otherwise.
So tell me, because 25 years is a long time to be involved in an organization, how has PTA changed in the last 25 years?
It is getting harder for people to commit time, I believe, to this organization. It is getting to where there are fewer of us doing it, so the bulk of the workload is on us. I think, with parents having to do 2 jobs, and a lot of our parents do volunteer, they do work full-time jobs, they're professionals. The skills they bring from their work, their careers, really benefit them, and they are very successful for those who do volunteer in this organization. Time management, they bring a lot of skills which make them successful. The other thing that I think is hurting us is that, aside from parents having to be outside, there's so many different activities. And I love that there is, because when I was growing up, we had softball, we had Girl Scouts. I think we even started allowing us to play basketball. So there was not that much that we could do in the way of extracurricular or dance or piano or something like that, whereas you have, boys had tons of stuff. And now, the girls they have gymnastics, dance, well, they had dance back then, but, they're playing soccer, they're volleyball teams, basketball. I mean, they're doing everything. Mm-hmm. So there's a fight for that time. And also, I think television got too good. All the programs, people have their favorites, and they just, no, I'm not doing it on Thursday nights. So I think that's an issue for it. Funding is another issue. I think with the economy the way it is, mm-hmm. and people can't support a lot of the different organizations, they're having to look for other sources, and everybody's fighting for those fundraising, those grant dollars and everything. So that's another thing that is facing us.
How is PTA funded at the school level?
Most PTAs, it varies. Like at my elementary schools, you pay your dues, which the minimum amount is $350. That goes to state and national to support all the different programs and support systems that they have. If a school charges $5, then $1.50 stays in the school. And then they usually do some type of fundraisers throughout the year. They'll set their budget. What do we want to do? What do we want to achieve? And then they have a fundraiser to provide the funds to do what it is that they need to do. Okay. And at the high school level, sometimes you don't fundraise as much. You sell those T-shirts, proud parent of, or whatever that you do. But you sometimes have a higher dues, like it might be $10 a parent. That way, more money stays. You're getting $650 that stays in, and that helps you to fund things because you don't do quite as much. Mm-hmm. You're not doing classroom parties. You're not doing all that stuff. But there's a lot of things that you can do at the high school level.
Right. I know historically, the older our children get, the less parental involvement there is in our schools. Like you said, in elementary school, you're a room parent, and so you're coming to the holiday parties and all of that. By high school, you don't see parents quite as much in the schools. Does PTA, have you seen that also in PTA? Do you have less parental involvement at the high school level?
Yes. Okay. Yes, it does. I think parents feel that my child is old enough, he can, get himself, come home and be there. And they sometimes now leave to go into the workforce, or the kids are like, I don't want you there, And so, but they need you more than ever there. They need to see that you care, that you're there. And it's just amazing that when you are in the hallways or you're there at the school, how many of their friends come up and hug you, and they're like, they love that you're there. They love to see that you care, that you're, putting your time in to make sure that their experience at school is a better one.
So if I'm a PTA parent at the middle school or the high school level, what are some of the things that I would be doing in a school? I know what I would do at the elementary level, but what do I do when my kids move into secondary education?
It's a little different. You might look for different ways of programs to provide. I do know that that's at the secondary levels, kids now need to start working on their social skills. So you can sponsor those parties, like right after school that last for maybe an hour, mixers type things, so they can work on their social skills. Of course, kids all love to dance. So it gives them an outlet to be with their peers and do all that stuff. There's a lot more. You might be doing concessions or something. Sometimes booster clubs at the high school. Usually the booster clubs tackle most of that. Although I do know some school districts where they integrate that and everybody gets their fair shot at that. Oh my gosh, you can start to involve students on groups or involve in your PTA. There's that opportunity, and there is also areas to make change within the school. I know years ago, when mine worked at the middle school, there was an issue with the air conditioning. Never originally was supposed to be set for in Coronado and Arrowhead. Mm-hmm. Well, funding, whatever happened, it didn't happen. So they had these little bitty tiny windows in the top, and in the summertime it would get extremely hot. So we, for like a month, parents went up, we stood, we monitored the temperature gauges, we took we had our logs and recorded all that. We were allowed to have the doors opened with fans in the doorways to blow air down the hallways to help cool the schools as well. And through that documentation, going through the school board, we were able to lobby to get air conditioning in those two schools. We were doing it at Coronado, but the schools are pretty much the same, and so they were able to then get air conditioning in both. But they also did, I believe, near that time, they went ahead and it was either right after that or during the same time, they went ahead and put air conditioning, started putting it in all the schools.
Okay. And so if I hear you correctly, the older our students get, the more opportunities they have to become involved in some of the things that PTA is doing?
There are a lot of opportunities. In fact, when I was at the high school level, when I was president, we changed from a PTA, Parent-Teacher Association, to a PTSA, Parent-Teacher Student Association. And we created student co-chairs to serve on our boards, and because, they can join as well. And we would keep our dues just at the flat $350 for students because, they don't have a lot of money. They have to ask for that money. And we wanted to provide opportunities for students to serve on our boards, get leadership skills. That stuff's important when you're filling out college scholarship applications. Mm-hmm. Have you held any leadership positions? They get to sit in a committee setting with adults, so they lose their fear of speaking up in groups or with adults which is great because by the time they're leaving school and they go in the workforce, they're not afraid to speak up or voice their opinions,
Right.
which will increase their opportunities, likelihood of getting promoted or moving faster up. I had a student one time that was one of my co-chairs, and she was kind of quiet, I believe, in her classrooms because her teacher came up to us afterwards and said, "What are you doing with this child?" She used to sit in my classroom and would never speak and was just quiet, and now she speaks up, she gives input, she participates.
Right.
And she said, "I'm just seeing her blossom." So that, to me, that was where I got very hooked with working with youth.
Right.
That there's definitely a role. They learn skills. They learn to do PowerPoints. They learn to help work on a committee where you plan something, you implement it, you evaluate it later. They're great for publicity. They can tell you, they know where the best places to see stuff stuck up on the walls.
Right.
So one of them told me one time, "Stick them on the bathroom doors." I was like, I could just see them going, being flushed out. But and they bring new insights. They know what they would like to see you guys do in the schools versus what we think they want us to do in the schools. We used to host a mixer when I was at Sumner Academy, and as you know, we have students come from all over the district that can attend there. So we held an 8th grade mixer for the students that came. I think we did that in September, late September. And it was just right after school. It was about an hour. We had popcorn, we had cookies, we had, punch. Mm-hmm. And, we had one of those things where you have a list and you have to go find a student with red hair, somebody who didn't go to your school, somebody who has a birthday in the same month, things like that, which made you get out and meet people. And it's a good way to build self-esteem, and it looks great on scholarship applications for colleges.
I think it's great because, that student involvement is absolutely critical because you're not just doing it for them, you're actually walking them through the process. I like when you were talking about the air conditioning in some of the schools. Even as parents, you didn't just say, "Oh yeah, it's hot in here, we need to do something about the air." You got the data that you needed, and so you hear that there's a complaint, so you get the data and then you go through the appropriate channels, which is a great lesson to teach our kids for how to resolve an issue that they have. I like the involvement that the students have. You and I were talking earlier about sending emails to some of our teenagers, and those of us who have teenagers know they don't read emails. They'll read a text message, but they don't read emails. So getting them, bringing them to the table especially when you're working on programming that impacts them, you really do need their involvement, because the way that we might do it is really not necessarily the way that might be most beneficial to them. Are there what's your current role with PTA?
I'm currently the Vice President of Extension, which I go out and we talk with different school districts, principals, superintendents about having PTAs in their schools, the benefits of them, and then go out and help charter new units. And then there's several other committees I sit on, but the one that probably we'll discuss today would be our Youth Advisory Committee with Kansas PTA. I stepped into that role 2 years ago. This is my 3rd year working with them, and I have at least another year, and then I will be booted off because we're only allowed to do it for 4 years at a time.
So you're only allowed to have that involvement with Youth Advisory Council for a certain number of years?
I would only be allowed to be a sponsor to chair it.
Okay.
I could still stay involved, but I could not be the chair.
Right. Okay. And we are going to spend, like you said, we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about that also, because that is an incredible opportunity that you are helping to facilitate for our young people. And especially in Wyandotte County. I mean, we're not that big, geographically, but we have a lot of students in this county. And one of the things that I really like about that group is that you have managed to bring in students from all over Wyandotte County, not just one school district. And I know you're still working on getting that involvement.
Yes, that's one of our goals.
Right, but I think that's great. So we're going to come back in a few minutes. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we will spend some time talking about the Youth Advisory Council and how Patty got involved with that, and some of the things that the Regional Prevention Center has been doing to help support those young people. So join us after the break.
wake up. You're not gonna be late again. Sean.
They said prescription painkillers were totally safe. They lied. Find out the truth about prescription painkillers. drugfreeworld.org.
Welcome back to Focal Point. I'm here again with Patty Jurich, who's going to keep talking to us about her involvement with PTA, and specifically for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the Youth Advisory Council and what those young people have been doing in Wyandotte County. So I know, Patty, you and I knew you through the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools from when I worked there. I knew your name, but then we met at a meeting. Was it maybe a year or so ago, a PTA meeting? And we were
like early December.
Yes, I think it was. And we were talking. I had been talking about some of the things that the Regional Prevention Center does and the supports that we offer. And we talked after the meeting about the possibility of doing some technical assistance with your group. And shortly after that, we had a trip to Washington D.C. I think I took 15 teenagers on that trip.
I believe so.
That was an experience. And they were learning about the things that they can do within their community, some evidence-based strategies that they can follow to bring about positive community change. And you've been building on that. So tell me about, Youth Advisory Council and how that all started with PTA, and then how you came to be involved with that subgroup.
That was started probably 4 years before I got involved with it, and just kind of for the purposes to work with youth, to, as I said earlier, give them leadership skills, to give them experiences working on committees with adults, with other fellow students, to get out of the box, comfort zone, all that good stuff, to work on community service projects. We do a community service project each year at our state convention. I remember one year it was like recycling, another year it was a book drive for students who are either low income or mothers, it was a book drive, recycle book drive, right, to benefit students who couldn't afford books. I know when my first year with it, we were sitting at a meeting and I asked the students, what do you guys want to tackle this year? And one of the subjects that came up was school supplies for high school homeless students. And so we did that. We collected them at the state convention, and we have them. And actually, we have a letter that's going out to the different homeless, the McKinney-Vento liaisons, to benefit those students. So that will be going out to those people, and then they can apply for the supplies that we collected. And then last year we did an awareness campaign. We partnered with the American Diabetes Association, and they helped provide us materials, and we passed out information, because we just felt, that, and we would like to do one on meningitis also. But there's a lot of information people don't know about those subjects. They affect students, they affect children, and it's hitting them at younger ages. People, a lot of times, in fact, one of the sisters of one of our girls on YAC, her younger sister, they did not know she was, was a diabetic until she was just having all these health issues. And one day was her sister-in-law, I guess, the aunt there was someone in the family that had it, and they were talking about the symptoms and said, oh, you've got to get her, she has all the symptoms, and found out she was like at a 1400, and I guess the highest they usually see is around the 800s. Mm-hmm. And so usually when children have these issues, they either go into a coma or they pass out, and that's how you find out. And we want people to be aware of what those symptoms are, what you should know about and look for, and if you have any of these, a couple of them, go get it checked out, because they don't test you when you're going to see the pediatrician when you're younger. It's not something they normally test for. So, wanting those kind of things, those kind of projects we think are worthy of our time, and it just creates awareness. I mean, you can do a full-blown one. We did one over at the high school in Turner as a pilot program to create a PowerPoint that we wanted to take into the schools that talked about the homeless issues. And we worked with their principal over there, who was very good and allowed us to send stuff out with the Grey Card time and stuff. And for almost 3 weeks, we conducted our collection. And on two Tuesdays, the kids were allowed to come down and set, because 4 of my students were at the high school level that was on my committee 2 years ago. and they allowed them to sit in the cafeteria and have a table. They did their booth. This is where they learned what are we going to do? Then they implemented. They did posters. We created a flyer. We worked with the homeless liaison over there. They had information available. Some students don't want to come forward and say, I'm homeless, because they're afraid of being displaced from where they're at. A lot of them are couch surfing. They want to be with their friends. They don't want to leave their school that they know. So they won't come forward and say anything. This created an opportunity for students to come and get information without anybody going, oh, and they did it in a safe environment. And a lot of other kids could get information on that as well. And that, because you never know where you're going to be in 3 months. You may know somebody who's in that situation, and you don't know where you'll be in 3 months. And we had information on their rights as students. If you are homeless, you have rights to do certain things, and so it was good information. We thought it was a good one, and we did create a PowerPoint, and we did a presentation at one of the high schools over in Shawnee Mission last year. So that was good. We would like to do more of those kind of presentations. We've created a couple more PowerPoints, and we would like to have opportunities to go out and present them at other high schools, some middle schools, and then hopefully what we're currently working at now, because you mentioned that last year in February you took 4 of our YAC students. Mm-hmm. We called them YAC, Youth Advisory Committee, to the CADCA convention in DC, which we were so grateful, because that is something that is out of our funding. So that was awesome to be able to do. And they came back with some good ideas. And we also recently went to the Kansas Youth Leadership Summit up in Junction City at the 4-H, Rock Springs 4-H campground. I didn't know it was there before, but I will never forget that it's there now. And that, of course, it was free to the students, but we did not have funding for transportation to and from, or the means. And we were able to you guys came up with 2 vans for us and 2 drivers, and so that allowed that to happen. And we are very appreciative of that. We really are. And
so what are some of the things that you all did at that most recent conference, the Kansas Youth Leadership Summit? What are some of the things that you talked about, some of the skills that you walked away with?
They heard they had some great speakers, and so they really had a lot of good motivation, and it really made them think about things differently. We had some good ideas to bring back that we would like to implement in some of our high schools. There's the chalk drawings of the victims, and you put the statistics or the facts inside of them, and right. We would like to try to do that on football game days, on the concrete or whatever, at the high schools. And then we were talking about maybe we could do that with the seatbelt facts, and do that at the middle schools, maybe even some elementaries, but we think that would be effective at middle schools. They had so many good ideas that they shared with us that we would like to bring back and try. And we're just kind of getting ourselves organized, getting our thoughts together. We're going to do a booth at your Family Fun Day coming up on the 24th of September. Right. And we're going to do basically an awareness campaign of different things with underage drinking. We're going to talk about the warning signs of alcohol poisoning. A lot of people wouldn't know that. And if you were at an event or a party and you saw there, and of course drinking was going on, and you saw somebody that was lying on the floor unconscious, and you happened to look and watch them to see that you're probably not taking more than 8 breaths in, a minute, it's time to call a parent. I mean, it's time to call a parent before, but that would motivate a student if you thought somebody's life was at risk, to risk getting grounded and going through all that. And we thought that was good. We want to have we have a couple activities, games at our booth that they can do to get their ticket to come get prizes at the Redemption Center. We also are looking at doing I call them the drunk goggles, but there's another word that's correct.
Oh, the drug impaired
goggles? Yes, the impairment goggles.
Yes.
And so that people can try those on and see what that feels like to either toss a ring over onto a cone or just even to walk.
Right.
And then we want to do the pledge cards as well, and we want to put information about it, the Paul's Law, the hosting laws, that I'm finding out that a lot of parents aren't aware of that.
Social hosting. No,
and the consequences that come from doing that, and the fines and the jail time that you could do. So we think that would be good information to put out there. We'd like to have other opportunities. We're looking at doing that at Turner Days as well. Good. And so we would like to expand and get out and deliver that kind of information. You know, if a PTA had a need, or a high school, we'd like to hear information on why you should have students serving on your boards, or create youth advisory committees within those high school PTAs. You know, the benefits that come with that. We would love to come out and speak on all that stuff.
I think that is absolutely wonderful. There are so many opportunities that you are providing, and we know for our students, one of the best things that we can do is to give them skills so that they can use, to provide opportunities for them to use those skills, and then to reward them for using those skills appropriately. And that's absolutely what you are doing. We're giving them the skills as we provide the training for them, giving them those opportunities as they go out in the community and make those presentations and create those presentations themselves, and then rewarded by either just us saying thank you, great job, or like you said, putting that information on a college scholarship application.
Community service hours.
There you go. You need those community service
hours.
I think that is absolutely incredible. You are doing a wonderful job.
Well, thank you. I have a great co-chair, Sheila Bunnell, from over in Turner. We are looking to, I mean, right now we're pretty much focused. It seems like most of our students are coming from Wyandotte County. We have them from Bonner, Turner, KCK. I even understand I may be getting one from Baser.
Yay.
Yes. The logistics of driving and all that might be getting to be a little bit difficult, but we would love to branch out into Overland Park, find our way into Lansing, Leavenworth.
Great.
You know, maybe we need to have other, you know, get more people doing yaks on
It'll
further
just
out.
keep growing.
Yes,
Well,
I think that's a great opportunity for them.
Great job. Really appreciate that. All of the work that you all are doing. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you. And so thank you for joining us today on Focal Point, and hopefully you've learned a few things about what's going on in our community, and that will maybe inspire you to get involved with what's going on in our county. Have a great day.